The showdown is coming this afternoon. Donald Trump and the intelligence community. Let's talk to his incoming White House press secretary, Sean Spicer. Sean, thanks for being here this morning. You just heard John Carl right there. Mr. Clapper said it yesterday. High confidence that Russia was behind this, not some guy in a basement, as the president-elect has suggested in the past might be possible. So is he prepared to accept that conclusion?
I think he's prepared to listen and understand how they got to the conclusions they did. For example, one of the things that I'm sure he's going to bring up is now we're seeing competing questions being asked. The Democratic National Committee, which was hacked, is saying that the FBI actually never came and looked at their servers.
But despite that, they still have high confidence. The FBI still has high confidence that Russia was behind
but I
this.
think there's a question that needs to get asked. The DNC is saying that the FBI never looked at this server. The FBI is saying that the DNC never gave them access to the server. The question is, regardless of who's right and who's wrong, if the server was never looked at, how do you, in the intelligence community, come to this conclusion? It's a fair question to ask. I think he's going to ask questions like that, not questioning the intelligence, but questioning how the conclusions were arrived at.
I guess my question is, does he have an open mind? If
Absolutely.
They come in here
100%. But I think that what we need to see is how those conclusions, based on the evidence, were made. And was there a direct link? What degree of confidence? Is it probability or certainty? But the president-elect, I think, has a healthy skepticism of everything. And that's important. People need to know that when decisions are made, and we've seen this in the past, that a rush to judgment is not in the country's best interest. He wants to make sure that whatever decisions we make, whether it's sanctions or actions, that it's in the country's best interest. And I think I think that the idea that he's approaching this in a very logical, methodical way, asking the right questions, making sure there's a high degree of certainty, asking why certain things were done or not done and how the conclusions were made is the right way to go about it.
I want to get to a couple of other issues. Your boss is on something of a tweet storm again this morning, including about reports that the transition is now working with congressional Republicans on finding money to pay for that wall on the border with Mexico. Donald Trump's tweet: the dishonest media does not report that any money spent on building the Great Wall for sake of speed will be paid back by Mexico later. So let's just go through this. Is it true that the transition is working with congressional Republicans on paying for the wall?
Well, I think this is something that he said on October 22nd. He said, don't worry about it. Remember, I said Mexico's paying for the wall with the full understanding the country of Mexico will be reimbursing the United States for the full cost of the wall. But he's been very consistent about that. So the idea that we're going through the appropriations process and figuring out how to pay for it, it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. How it's repaid.
But what's dishonest about that reporting?
But because in several media outlets that I've seen this morning, they say that he's going back on a promise that he's made. That's what he said in October. He's been very consistent with that. The idea that people are trying to twist that and make it seem like it's a broken promise, when in fact
Mexico says they're not paying for the wall.
But that doesn't mean he broke his promise. He's talking very clearly about the appropriations process, how the wall will be funded, and then how it will be repaid. That's consistent with what he said all along.
How is Mexico going to pay for that wall?
Well, again, I think he's going to continue to talk about how that, whether it's through higher tariffs or a direct check. I mean, he will talk to them about that. That's something he's been very clear about, and he's going to be consistent about it going forward.
We're also seeing Speaker Paul Ryan saying yesterday that eliminating funding for Planned Parenthood is going to be part of the bill to repeal Obamacare. You know, that's going to animate a lot of those marchers who are coming to Washington the day after the nomination. Is this something that the president-elect supports?
Well, I think the president-elect's been very clear that he's a pro-life president. He's been a pro-life candidate, and we're going to stand up for life. And it shouldn't be a shocker to anybody. The Republican Party stands up for life, and we're proudly so.
So eliminating funding for Planned Parenthood inside the Obamacare?
I think we're going to work with Congress on that. I think we're going to make sure that we continue to be a pro-life party and we stand up for life.
Sean Spicer, thanks for joining us this morning.